Welcome back, everyone, to another episode from the Optimal Body Podcast. I'm Dr. Dom.
I'm DocJen.
And today we're going to be talking about how to optimize that shoulder health and why some people might develop shoulder issues. This is part of our full body optimization series, so let's jump in. Thank you for joining us for another episode. And again, we've been doing this full body optimization series. So there are 4 other episodes that have already come out and some yet to come. And if you don't want to miss any of those, please consider hitting the subscribe button and notification bell and comment below. Let us know what you want to hear about, what you want to learn about, different topics that you might have on mind or that are personal to you, because that is how we come up with all this content. That is how Jen comes up with her mobility and exercise videos that she puts out on a weekly basis. So please comment below, make sure you subscribe, and now we'll get into how to optimize that shoulder health.
Excited to be back on talking about shoulder optimization. What can we do to help optimize our shoulder health? And why do we often fall into issues around the shoulder? Now, we're not going to talk about specific diagnoses because we've done that on so many other podcasts, which we'll have linked up in our show notes. But specifically, all the way back to episode 54, we talked about frozen shoulder. We've talked about scapular winging in 72. We've talked about rounded shoulders in 82, rotator cuff in 120, bad posture 142, shoulder popping, why does that happen in 154, biceps tendonitis in 222, all the way to shoulder labrum in 228.
And there's probably others in between that we didn't catch when we were just scrolling through our archive of podcasts.
So, and if you do have like a specific shoulder thing that you're like, I know you guys have talked a lot about the shoulder, but I haven't heard about this yet, like let us know, because we want to be able to create education, resources, and what the current research is saying to what you can be asking in your doctor's office or what you can be doing actively for yourself. But today we're really going to focus on like exercises that we think would really optimize the shoulder.
Yeah, and one area that we really want to start is, why do we develop shoulder issues in the first place? It's really that way that our arm is attached onto this core, the trunk of our body, and in a similar way that our sedentary lifestyle impacts our hip, it does the same to our shoulders. Both the sedentary lifestyle, but the nature of how everything we seem to do in daily life is bringing us forward, whether that's driving or cooking or cleaning or working at the computer, on our phone. Everything seems to bring us forward, and there isn't many regular daily activities that seem to open us up.
Like you brought up, our postures in our everyday life. Well, if I'm always kind of rounded and forward like this with my arm kind of internally rotated, it's not only for my shoulder, it's actually for my shoulder blade and my chest and my upper back, that starts to come into this rounded position. And it's so fascinating actually when we were going through the Mobility Foundations course, and so many people just in the self-assessment said, I have rounded shoulders, I have forward head, I have constant neck tension, all these things, but my shoulder mobility actually looks okay. And it's because we're not taking into consideration these other areas that impact our shoulder and our shoulder blade that we need to be paying attention to, which are some of the exercises we're going to go into. But the rib cage and our upper back, like our shoulder blade rests on this rib cage and upper back. So depending on how our rib cage is moving and functioning and how our upper back is, that's going to play a huge factor into what's happening in those shoulders.
And that's like such a massive point, because people don't realize how integrated our shoulder blade is to our shoulder movement in general, and how much our shoulder blade movement relies on our rib cage and upper back mobility. So it just really becomes this whole complex that is kind of intertwined that helps us do all these above head motions, or reaching behind our back, or reaching over to scratch our head or wash our hair or something. Like all of these components, our shoulder blade, our upper back, are like pretty integral to how our shoulder feels and how our shoulder moves. So the first thing we brought up, of course, people are going to hear us say like, oh, posture. And then there's all the people who want to argue posture is not bad or certain postures aren't bad. Like, no, it's not a rounded forward posture itself at one time that's bad. It's when we sustain that posture or any posture for long periods of time. Because what happens when we stay in one posture, let's say it's a forward rounded posture for a long period of time, our muscles really start to lose what we call this proprioception or this understanding of where they are, what they're doing, then same with our shoulder blades. We start to lose awareness of what our shoulder blades are doing because we aren't activating the muscles around the shoulder blades. We're not engaging them. We're not bringing the shoulder blades back. We're not working them through their different ranges of motion. So we start to lose this general awareness.
If we're only using one part of our system over and over and over again, of course we're going to start to develop different pains and issues because we're not balancing it out with the other side. I mean, that's anything we do in life. We start to only use one side, where we're going to start to lose balance with the other. It's about bringing back control, general awareness, and balance overall to our system in the best manner that we can. Obviously, we're going to have imbalances because of what we do in everyday life, but are there exercises that we can start to implement that help to bring this better balance to help optimize our shoulder? And we believe that there is. Starting with one that is so easy to implement, and a lot of people have really taken to it based on our different courses or our programs and our plans, is just a simple open book. This is one of the easiest exercises that you can do first thing in the morning before you go to bed, after work, like whatever it may be. You're just going to lay down, whether it's in your bed, whether it's on the floor, and you kind of cross your knee, hold your top knee down so you kind of help to stabilize. You could put it on a pillow or a foam roller if you want a little bit more support in the hip. And you just reach forward, take a breath in, feel that rib cage expand, breathe out, relax, open the chest. You're going to get the chest to kind of relax and open, that pec to stretch, that rib cage to start to move from the breath in and the breath out. You're going to get that upper back opening as you extend and rotate, and you're going to help to relax tension around your shoulder. Like, this is one of the easiest places you can start to help address that upper back, rib cage, and shoulder health.
I do this one almost every morning. I usually get up early with Dante, go downstairs, more for my thoracic spine than my shoulders, but I get on our IntelliRoll and do a little bit of thoracic extension and then do that rotation, and it just feels good. And again, you can progress this then by going into a standing position against the wall and doing wall rotations or wall circles, where you're in like kind of a standing lunge position. The leg that is closer to the wall is forward, and you kind of try to rotate your whole arm around in a circle up against the wall without touching the wall. And again, that's going to work more on that active shoulder range of motion and shoulder blade movement, as well as a lot of the thoracic rotation components.
You can even pause in that rotation. Put your arm against the wall. Do a
pec stretch.
Yeah, do a pec stretch when you're doing it. Do it kneeling on the ground. Like, there's so many ways that you can actively start to open up this upper back, rib cage, and shoulder area and start to take tension off your shoulder. The other one that is really good, because it's going to work the shoulder actively through our internal and external range of motion.
Most of these optimization episodes are going to end with get strong. Get strong throughout the movements that you had. Again, this is not an exhaustive list of reasons people develop shoulder issues or exercises that will help optimize your shoulder health. It's some of our favorites. The basic premise is get mobility in all of the areas, then start to load or activate through those areas, and then really start to gain strength and build strength through all of those movements. And that's one of the easy frameworks for optimization of any area.
And we have a shoulder plan on Gen Health
that
goes through all of the mobility from passive to active and loaded mobility to more of the control exercises that really get your entire shoulder blade and upper back really working together with that shoulder, so that you don't feel like your upper trap is doing all the work. Like, if you're confused on how to get back to strength training, that's what we do in the shoulder plan. And we have strength workouts that we end up doing as well, because again, getting strong in all different ways of pressing and pushing. If you move through your full range of motion in that strength, you're going to rebalance how you're working and the awareness that you have within that shoulder, both in 2-arm pressing, 1-arm pressing, pulling, hanging. It's also important. So we want to encourage you to not stop moving the shoulder in all different ways and not stop getting strong in all different ways. Thanks so much for joining us for another episode. I hope you feel more empowered and encouraged on what you can start doing today. Easy things that don't take too much time. And if you have any more questions, please drop them below in the comments. If you have any more specifics, we want to hear from you. And of course, we're going to have all the episodes that are a little bit more specific to different diagnoses linked up below as well.